What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports here to give you the edge for this Week 4 NFL slate on DraftKings. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future NFL content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GBP, head over to www.dgfantasy.com. On dgfantasy.com, we give you cheat sheets for every major sport, along with ownership projections, actual projections, and strategy for every single slate. We also cover optimal cash plays as well as preferred GBP plays and stacks for specific contest sizes. We do the dirty work for you. We are also currently partnered with Fantasy Cruncher, the best optimizer in the industry. When signing up for our $30 package, you also get a $20 credit to use towards any Fantasy Cruncher product. We provide the best value in the industry. And now let's go ahead and dive right into this NFL Week 4 slate here with Kevin, not TJ. TJ is in Florida, probably watching us as we speak, Kevin. So let's go ahead and do this by ourselves. We have ownership here for you, provided by Fantasy Cruncher, one of our partners. So if you guys want to sign up for a $30 package, you get a $20 voucher to any Fantasy Cruncher product. Feel free to use the link in the description if you guys are interested in that and our products, which come with cheat sheets, our favorite GBP leverage stacks, and all that good stuff. Kevin, quarterbacks. Let's talk about this. So we talked about this in the earlier video. We had some interesting pay down options and also pay up options. There wasn't really any mid-range guys. And because of that, I think that's reflective here in the ownership. We have Josh Allen, number one. We have Dak Prescott, and then Patrick Mahomes, all studs. Dak Prescott is a mid-range option. But again, I think that's just because of the name here is the reason why he's so high owned. Carolina's actually been pretty impressive defensively. 6.7K for his price tag. They're still projected to put up 28 points. So let me ask you this. Are you paying all the way up for somebody like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, or are you going mid-range here with Dak Prescott?
Well, I brought this up, Matt, I think in one of my prize picks videos. Carolina heading into last week was actually leading the NFL in, I think, like total yards, like least amount of total yards against, least amount of like passing yards against, least amount of points against. Like they're playing as a very full defensive unit right now, which is a little scary, you know, if you're going to take a quarterback against them. I'll tell you right now, as a Dak Prescott owner and a Jalen Hurts owner, this might be the first week I actually put Hurts ahead of him. Just because the matchup and really, yeah. So there you go. I mean, if you look, the pricing reflects that as he's $200 more, I guess, this week.
And Jalen Hurts has been consistent in terms of fantasy. Not that his team has been good, but he's been consistent. Yeah,
I mean, if I'm looking at like Sam Darnold at 6,000 and Dak Prescott 6,700, obviously that doesn't make sense to me. But like in terms of like if we're both talking 6K range pricing, but if I'm looking at like a $6,700 Dak Prescott versus a $7,000 Matt Stafford, I'm leaning towards like a Matt Stafford.
And I don't hate that.
I mean, that game is just, he's looked lights out, and how is that game not going to be an absolute shootout?
Yeah, that's the most popular game. And not even in terms of stacking, Kevin, because not to jump too far ahead here, but all these price tags in that game are very expensive. So a Matthew Stafford type of Cooper Kupp coming back with the Robert Woods, those guys are very expensive. But then coming back with somebody like D-Hop, Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore, you know, coming back with that type of stack will actually be pretty contrarian, and I think that is very good leverage. There's a couple teams I want to talk about here a little bit later on in terms of wide receivers. But yeah, that game's actually pretty contrarian when it comes to stacking. And speaking of contrarian, you know, stacks here, Arizona's quarterback here, Kyler Murray, is very, very under the radar in terms of ownership. At least, you know, he's been lights out as well. So I'm glad you brought up Matthew Stafford because I really do like him as a contrarian QB option.
Yeah, I don't really get that Kyler Murray ownership. We're seeing him at a significant price drop. He just had what I would consider a floor game against a team that he probably should have popped on, but a floor game of 23 points. This is a guy who's averaging 35 points a game. What are we doing? Like, that's crazy. Like, that's ridiculous.
In a shootout type of scenario.
Yeah, he's only $200, you know, more than when he started the year at 7,600 versus the Titans. So I think that's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So, you know, going back to our original question here, are you paying up for Josh Allen, or are you going Dak Prescott, or even somebody else for cash?
I don't know. Dak is very interesting in cash. I mean, not Dak. Josh Allen's interesting in cash. I mean, watching him come off in a performance like that, I don't hate him. We talked about this. His legs give him a good. Granted, he hasn't been running a ton this year. I think he's just gotten better as a pass, you know, as a passer, which helps. But, you know, we did see the, you know, Josh Allen we expected to see, I guess, against Washington. Washington has an underrated defense. Their defense actually isn't that bad, and he shredded them up. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And his first two games were Miami and Pitt, who also have good defenses. So, you know, he's had a pretty decent schedule. Houston will obviously be a huge relief to that. We saw Trevor Lawrence, your boy, throwing them for, what was it, 3? I know he threw 3 picks, but was it 300 something yards,
Yeah,
3 touchdowns, something like that.
good.
So yeah, I think this is a smash spot for Josh Allen and pretty safe in cash. I think I'd put him at a 20-point floor in cash.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you have the salary here, you're going to be paying up for somebody like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, it doesn't seem like a cash week for me. I'm not really confident in playing a specific quarterback here. I don't think that any one of these guys stand out. I could easily play Patrick Mahomes over Josh Allen, or I could easily play Kyler Murray over both of them. And it make a lot of sense here. So if I'm playing, first of all, I'm playing GBPs, and you guys know I don't play cash games anyway. But I really do like some of these contrarian options here. Speaking of more contrarian options, you already brought up Sam Darnold. I don't hate that game script for him. Should be playing, a shootout type game. I know that Carolina's defense is good, but it's still Dak Prescott, so this should be a decently higher scoring game. Right now, the over-under is at a 51.5, and Carolina's projected to lose this game by 4 points because this is at home here for Dallas. So really like that game script for Sam Darnold and what the connection he's shown here with DJ Moore. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Another quarterback.
Do you like Sam Darnold?
Do I like him?
Yeah.
I do like him. I think he's. I thought he was underrated in the Jets uniform, but now that people are finally starting to see, him with people with brain cells, he's actually shown, some kind of promise here. So I'd say he's an average quarterback. If I had to really.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who I guess I need a little more selling. I was talking to my friend about this the other day. Because I am a Robbie Anderson owner, and we were talking about the production of Sam Darnold, and Robbie Anderson. I was like, it might just because Sam Darnold's so dog shit. And you know what? I might have to start biting my tongue, man. I'm looking at consistency. Personified right now in his games. 68% completion percentage, 68% completion percentage, 68% completion percentage over 3 games. Like, that is so freaking consistent. He's done pretty well. I mean, he's only thrown 3 touchdowns and 1 pick, but I mean, the yardage is probably close to about 300 yards a game.
Yeah.
And from a fantasy perspective, 20, 23, 28. I can't say shit, man. It's like, I mean,
yeah, and
3 rushing touchdowns in that time too, which will help the fantasy production.
The one thing I noticed with Sam Darnold too is in the Jets uniform, he threw it to his most obvious weapon the entire time he was there, which was Robbie Anderson, right?
Yeah.
And a couple other players. Well, here it's DJ Moore. I hate to break it to
you. I guess so. Yeah, and I mean,
and then why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And I'm not a big Robbie Anderson guy. I really am not. It's just I'm looking at the production of last year and this year, or last year. I should say last year compared to a healthy DJ Moore last year. He outpaced him pretty well.
Right.
That's why it's just a little perplexing to me. But DJ Moore's a talented guy. Gets open. He's not the biggest red zone threat in the world, but he gets open.
No, he's making him look good. He's the best in the wide receiver core, at least for now.
So maybe I need to stop sleeping on Sam Darnold.
That and, when he had CMC, look what CMC was doing. Obviously, CMC does that all the time. But with Sam Darnold, he's like, hey, this is the most obvious option on my team, so I'm going to keep handing him the ball. It's that easy. So Sam Darnold, comes off as a smarter quarterback. Maybe he's not going to be anything too good here, but I do think you need to cut him some slack here, Kevin. At least some slack. But specifically in this game, $6K, it's a pretty good price tag.
Speaking of, that might be a good transition to running back and talking about chubby hubby.
Yeah, one more guy. So I mentioned Taylor Heineke because he's been doing decent. 24 and 23. I actually didn't notice that until Monday.
I did know that because he was on my waiver wire. I was looking at him.
Yeah, and against Atlanta. So what better matchup than Atlanta? So I will throw him out there, and then we'll talk about running back. Yeah, Chuba Hubbard, really not that high owned. So yeah, we'll transition there. I want to hear your thoughts on that, but first I want to hear your thoughts on Derrick Henry being at the top here, 18.5. I think that was one of the more obvious options. I thought you and TJ were kind of crazy for saying that, but it makes sense. Recency bias is pretty big. I just don't like.
I didn't say I don't like Derrick Henry in cash.
Okay. Oh, you did say that. Okay, it must have been just TJ.
I think it was because I said pay down for Kamara. He's safer in cash for sure, and he's cheaper.
It's one of those matchups, Kevin, where it's so obvious on paper that he should smash these guys down.
That won't happen.
Right, that it won't happen, and it will not only screw you in cash, but it could screw you in GPPs even more because of the 18.5% ownership. But it's so obvious that the Titans really don't have anybody else. Kevin, Julio Jones might possibly be out this game, if not limited.
Yeah.
AJ Brown is there. So guess what? The Jets only have to focus on one guy in this game.
Yeah.
I know it's Derrick Henry, guys. I know he's matchup proof, but if they're stacking the box there, 7-8 guys, then guys, I hate to tell you, but the train has to stop at some point. Derrick Henry is just such an obvious option. Yes, if he's the highest, don't play him in cash, but in GPPs, Kevin, I know this might be crazy to say out loud, but he might be a good fade for GPPs, especially if you're trying to get different. David Montgomery was one guy that stuck out to me in terms of the price tag and the matchup here at Detroit. At 5.8K, I really like the discount here. I know Justin Fields he looked completely horrible, but David Montgomery has always proven to be somewhat of a good back here, regardless of his quarterback situation, especially in his matchup here versus Detroit. And this is probably one of the cheaper price tags we've seen in a while. Very streaky player in general, but I think it's more on the coaching situation there than it is his performances. Really like that price tag there. And then Kamara, I guess I'll transition over to you. Who's your favorite out of these three guys? If you're prioritizing two guys, or is it somebody else a little bit later down the list here for cash?
Honestly, Matt, I mean, I like Dave Montgomery. I think he's going to have some bounce back games. I mean, Cincy was just a tough game. Every running back has tough games. 20 for 61 wasn't great.
Not James
Rams,
Robinson,
amazing. Yeah. What'd you say?
Not James Robinson, because he's the best, but yeah, against Cincinnati.
Yeah, well, I played against him in 2 leagues, so fuck you and him. Yeah, David Montgomery, I mean, we saw him against the Rams, much better defense, absolutely snapped him at the beginning of the year. He does well in favorable matchups. We know that. Cleveland, he didn't get a chance to shine. They were getting shit on the whole time.
Yep, agree.
You know, he's not a bad pass catching back, but I don't think there's anything that's going to save them from that, swamping. So, definitely a much more favorable matchup, obviously. 5,800 is very, very cheap for him. Detroit is 24th in terms of points allowed in DraftKings scoring. I don't hate it. I think this is a much more favorable matchup, and at 5,800, I'd probably lock him in for cash, to be honest. I mean, that's very, very talented.
Who else is it? Is it going to be Chuba Hubbard? Are you going mid-range?
For cash?
Yeah, for cash.
5,900. Yeah, can he be Mike Davis? That's the thing. That's what I'm thinking of.
Good question.
And I think that's what a lot of people are asking themselves, like, what's his production going to be? I mean, we saw him play that Mike Davis role his first game in. I'm always looking at the receiving. You know what I mean? Like, the rushing is one thing. I'm looking. He got 5 targets. How much do you know? How much of the game he played?
3 quarters. A little bit more than 3 quarters. Yep.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. That's a good amount. We like to see that. Hasn't been super impressive as a runner yet, but I think at 5,900, it's a decent cash back. I wish it was cheaper. I'm going to say that. If it was Mike Davis filling that role again, obviously knowing what Mike Davis does in that system, I would be more comfortable. That said, I'll still probably take a swing on him in cash. I'll probably load up, especially where we talked about the cash options and stuff like that. Like, if I'm making cash, I don't think it's a bad idea to go 1, 2, 3, one being at one of them at flex with Kamara. And then the 2 we just talked about in Montgomery and Hubbard. Yeah. I don't hate that.
And I don't hate that either, especially we just talked about the quarterback situation where you might have to pay up. Might be good to pay down at the running back situation. Now, guys, I know we're going to get a lot of hate here on Derrick Henry not being the most obvious cash option. But again, if he is the highest owned, then yes, go ahead and plug and play him. If you have the salary, pay up for Derrick Henry. I'm just saying, could be limited in terms of the upside here for GBPs, especially the Vegas total is only 25 for the Titans, which is actually pretty surprising. It just goes to show you how slow of a pace that not only the Titans are playing at because of their rushing attempts here with Derrick Henry, but also the Jets. The Jets are just so bad. They slow down the game. It's boring. It's boring to watch the Jets.
Jets are very, they're a very low octane team, and it's like you always think because they're not a great team that teams might smash them, but they do slow games down.
The 44.5 over under, which is very low.
Obviously monitored AJ Brown and Julio Jones, and there's a lot of things factoring. You could do both sides of the coin. Man, this is a tough thing about football. Like, yeah, they could stack the box, or yeah, they have no one to throw to. So now Derrick Henry gets, 1 million carries and 1,000 points. I mean, he's going to get 1 million carries anyway, but you know what I mean? Like, maybe this is the only way that this offense can roll without Julio and AJ. So I don't know.
And again, if Derrick Henry doesn't have a couple breakaway runs, I mean, this game's going to be very slow. They're going to keep it on the ground the entire game. So it's like the upside really should be limited here in this game. That's just my only thought.
Yeah, it is looking like both will sit as of now.
Yeah.
That could change. But.
Okay, good update there. So some more plays here going down the list. We talked about Darrell Henderson. Still have to monitor what his situation is looking like. Did practice Wednesday, which is very good. Should play in this game. I really like Darrell Henderson. Another fantastic option. Just a low price tag on the very high over-under with the Rams. A 29 team total there for the Rams. Miles Sanders is a guy that I talked about. And now that we've seen him in Monday Night Football, his ownership dropped all the way down 6.4K. He literally got 2 rushing attempts. But the one thing I do like about this game script, Kevin, is that he was targeted in the receiving game yet again. So I like to see that they're using him in the passing game in only a 2-back type set. They've only used him and Gainwell in the backfield. So that's something I love to see in terms of overall upside. I get that's not a good matchup for them at all here for Kansas City, but they should be playing from behind majority of the game. Nick Chubb is unowned again. So guess what, guys? These are the types of weeks where he snaps off. Against the Minnesota Vikings, 27 game total here. 7K price tag, Kevin, which is also very low. I'm pretty sure that matched the exact as week 1. 7.2. So this is the cheapest we've seen him, which I think you need to take advantage of 100%. And yeah, those are my favorite GPP options. Kevin, did I miss anybody?
I like Jonathan Taylor. I know I talk about him week to week. You know, he's hurt right now, but if he's okay and he looks like he's going to play, you know, it's the last update was Thursday, I believe. I don't think there's any full update on his practice today. But if he plays, Matt, I mean, we're looking at him. We started the year at $8,000. That was not that long ago. $8,000. And yes, he played the Rams, tough matchup. He played the Titans. They found themselves down. He did pretty well, actually. 10 carries, 64 yards. Just found themselves down and is in a smash spot against Miami. Miami, you can absolutely run on that. I think that's the way to beat Miami. You know, we watched Damian Harris piss through Miami for 100 yards. I think Jonathan Taylor, if he plays at 6,300, is a really, really valuable. Like I said, Matt, I can't get over the fact that 3 weeks ago he was $8,000. $8,000. Now he's $1,700 cheaper. The talent's there. You know what I mean? Losing Quentin Nelson hurts, but I think he's fine.
All right. There's your last GPP option. There's also something to note here, Kevin, that there's a lot of injury news to monitor. We have DeAndre Swift, who's technically questionable, limited. We have Dalvin Cook. Madison, load up on him if he is out, but Dalvin Cook also has a good matchup. Antonio Gibson did not practice on Thursday. It's also questionable. We have Darrell Henderson. Aaron Jones, limited practice. Another person. Barkley. Eli Mitchell.
Melvin
not that
Gordon.
That matters because you shouldn't be playing 49ers.
Did you say Melvin Gordon?
No, I didn't. I didn't even get to him yet. Melvin Gordon. Like, there's so many options here. I have a feeling that there's going to be an injury here right before Sunday lock, Kevin. That's going to shift ownership, and I definitely think that can make for a very intriguing value play here at the running back position. I think there's going to be a lot more value as this weekend progresses.
Yeah, someone's going to sit. There's too many injuries.
Too many, yeah.
Too many injuries.
Exactly.
I agree.
Moving over to the wide receiver position, I will not toot my own horn here. DJ Moore looked to be one of the better price tags, and in matchups here against the Dallas Cowboys, a favorable matchup. They should be playing in a close competitive game. They're playing away, so they should be playing from behind. 6.6K with the amount of targets he's been getting is absolutely insane. You can say the exact same thing here for Cooper Kupp. Yes, both of these guys are a little bit recency bias, but you just got to look at their targets that they've been getting. 7.8K here for 18.6% ownership. And then the one guy that I'm kind of confused about, not that I hate him, I'm just confused that his ownership is so high. Amari Cooper has dropped 2 back-to-back duds here, and he's off the injury report, so he should be fine. 16.2% ownership. We have Devontae Adams, and then Robert Woods is another guy that has been kind of flying under the radar because he hasn't really been involved in the offense. I actually did a TikTok on him on how to not give up on him because he's been playing 88% of snaps. Yes, he's primarily a run blocker when he's out there, but they're also trying to get him involved in the offense there, just not getting the targets that we saw last season. I guess Matthew Stafford just doesn't like him. Regardless, he's only 5.3K, 15% ownership. So of those 5 options, Kevin, who do you like and who sticks out to you?
Honestly, man, I really like, I give you credit for the DJ Moore call. I like the Cooper thing. At 6K, I mean, he's so cheap, and I know that he's not going to like... It's tough because last year Cooper with Dak was considered... I consider Cooper more of a boomer bust candidate when he plays football, but it's, you know, it's... or I should say when he plays football with Dak. I think he's... You know, without Dak, he's mostly just bust. You know, he's just, there's not as much boom. But as a PPR guy, he was very consistent with Dak last year. Now it seems like we're starting to see a little more of the, you know, he came off a, where is he? He came off a 40-point, 50-point game in the beginning of the year or something. Yeah, 41, and then double fives. So it's like, it's kind of weird. The Philly one was really weird. The Chargers, I can almost give a pass. Chargers have an underrated secondary, good pass rush. You know what I mean? Like, shit happens. It's one game. Philly doesn't make any sense, except for the only thing I can say about Philly is, and we knew this when we loved Zeke, is that we thought they were going to run. You know what I mean? We thought they were going to run on Philly all day long. Zeke had 17 rushes for almost 100 yards.
Zeke looked like the youngest he's looked in his career that game.
Primetime Zeke, yeah, two rushing touchdowns. That's why I told everybody to trade for Zeke after week 1. Like, that was the biggest one. Like, people, yeah, 100%. But people don't know. People don't know about like Tampa. Like, it's funny. Like, more people are so casual in league, you know, season long that they'll be like, they'll overreact. You know what I mean? Yep. They'll overreact. Most people don't. You're right. Most people shouldn't. But give it 2 weeks. Say Zeke had another dud week or something. People are going to start freaking out, and that's what you got to capitalize on. It's so early in the year. So don't panic. Don't panic. Sell anyone. Someone in my other league, Matt. Guess know who they dropped?
Who?
In one of my leagues. Big league, pay league. Brandon Ayuk dropped Brandon Ayuk. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what an overreaction. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that's still. I mean, that's not a huge overreaction, but I get it. I mean, I don't.
You don't think that's a huge overreaction? I don't know. I think that's wild to me.
Well, if somebody who doesn't know the name of Brandon Ayuk, yeah, then that's obvious.
I guess, yeah. For me, that was like, I couldn't believe that. But yeah, like Cooper, like Moore. Cup, how can you say no? I mean, 7,800 is a ridiculous price for Cooper Kupp. We talked about this season. He is $100 cheaper than Devontae Adams. This is how much it can change in 3-4 weeks.
Be.
How much? Yeah. I mean, imagine if I told you that 3 weeks ago. Let's see what they start at. So Devontae Adams' first price tag was $8,300. Cooper Kupp's first price tag was $5,500 fucking dollars. Are you kidding me? That's almost $3K, Matt. Right. And now they're $100 off after 3 weeks. That is insane. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. But yeah, I like all four of those top guys. I like Robert Woods is cheap enough. I guess I like him for cash too. I've been loading him and Cooper Kupp. I've been stacking the cash. I like that. Tyreek Hill's probably where I cut off the cash line. I don't want to pay $8K for Tyreek Hill in cash just because.
You didn't mention Robert Woods. I want to hear what you have to say about Robert Woods.
No, I just did.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry.
I said I've been stacking him in cash.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Him and Kupp, I've been stacking in cash, and I guess I'll keep doing it. I mean, Coop is pretty expensive right now, but
yeah, I don't know if I have the balls to do it with Robert Woods here in cash and GBPs. Yeah, I'm gonna be overexposed to him like crazy. Robert Woods,
not consistent. Yeah,
he's been so consistent with the snap counts. He's even seeing the second highest target share. It's just that Kupp has seen such a crazy amount that nobody else benefits whatsoever. We saw what's his name? Hold on, brain fart. Hold on. Desean Jackson. Desean Jackson have a good game for them last week.
Yeah, he caught a bomb, dude.
He was barely on the field.
Still so fast at 106 years old.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
106. Yeah. I mean, when you got guys like that taking away targets from you, and especially when they're scoring on the long bombs like that, when they're barely on the field, like obviously you're not gonna have any production. Robert Woods, I do think we're gonna see some boom games from him. It's just a matter of time. But the 5.3K here, I mean, I love the price tag. I just don't know if I'm going to have the balls to do it. I might prioritize DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, and probably Amari Cooper in that order just because of the game script there for them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Let's go over some wide receiver GPP options. I'll give you a second to look at them. I'm going to start naming my favorite ones. I like Brandon Cook. I mentioned this in the first look video just because he's been getting so many targets against Buffalo, 6.4K. He hasn't gone under 20 points yet this season. I don't think anybody is they are realizing that, but like people aren't paying attention to how good and how efficient he has been with no quarterback. Literally no quarterback.
Yeah.
It's been insane, and they haven't even scored that many points here. Brandon Cooks, Devontae Smith, especially at his low price tag here, is going to be more of a GBP option. I mentioned him in the first video. I think he's in position here, potentially get a boom game. It's going to be him or Rieger, or Miles Sanders is going to go ballistic. They have to keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs. Manuel Sanders is another guy that's just getting targets like crazy and has been literally the number one person on that team in terms of snap count, 4.9K. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about Manuel Sanders because I did it last year too, but he's on the field. He's on the field at a 4.9K price tag. That game total for them is at a 32, or team total rather. And we just talked about Rieger. DeAndre Hopkins, don't know what's going on with his injury. Right now he's off of the injury report. So if there's going to be a game where he decides to go off, it should be here in this game script. First, the Rams, he has Jalen Ramsey, so we know how that goes. It's going to be back and forth all game long. DeAndre Hopkins has definitely gotten the better of him in his career. Hence the reason why Ramsey bows down to him. But I think those are my favorite options there on the slate for GPPs, Kevin. What do you have to say about that?
I like everything you said. Emmanuel Sanders is so interesting. He's averaging almost 7 targets a game. It's crazy. I just never would have thought of that. I like Debo. He's been playing really well too. Kind of sneaky. He's, I think, top 5 in wide receiver production right now, or yards per game or something like that. I saw something about him. He's absolutely snapping. Justin Jefferson, perpetually under-owned, Matt. Without takeaways touchdown last week, which he got a touchdown, take it away, he still scored 24 points.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson is amazing. You know what I mean? At 7,300, he's just, we saw him at 7,700 in the beginning of the year, and I think he's just as good as ever, obviously. And I think this, could be a sneaky high-scoring game. So what's the over-under this game, by the way?
Of the Minnesota game is crazy, 51.5.
Yeah, that's.
Oh wow,
I mean,
Cleveland's only 2-point favorites. Okay.
Yeah, dude. Soda's good. Soda. Well,
they're good on offense,
but they're good on offense. I was just gonna say, on paper, they have so many studs on defense. I don't know how they're better, but I definitely like him. And then someone who's sneaky for me, and I just believe in the talent, and he's playing well, and especially with no Landry, is Odell. Matt, I don't know if you talked. Do you bring him up?
I did not bring him up, but we talked about him in the first look. Got 9 targets.
9 targets, man. And I think Odell's a stud. I think he's still a stud. Still has a talent level, and at cost, it's just ridiculously cheap. He's $5,800, and a very, like we just talked about, Matt. That's a very high game total. So yes. I don't mind that Odell pick.
Yeah. You said something interesting about Odell. You said you believe in the talent. The one thing about Odell, and this is definitely going off on a tangent. I don't think we've ever talked about this. Ever since his one-handed catch, and I heard I forget what analyst it was on ESPN call him one of the greatest of all time after he made that catch, and I was just like, what kind of world do we live in where Odell Beckham,
off of one catch,
off of the greatest catch we've ever seen, I'm not debating that, is now the best wide receiver in NFL history. And ever since then, I've had such a hate, not a hate towards him individually, but like the hype around Odell Beckham. It's like, dude, chill out with Odell Beckham. I still think he's fantastic. I'm not denying that, but like for somebody to get up there and call, and they did it for like 2 straight seasons after that. Like, when he was still playing well, he wasn't breaking any records or anything. But Odell Beckham, man, I can't stand when people overrate him so much. I'm glad that he's finally back.
It's funny. I actually
get injured again, but
I think he gets more hate now than ever. I think he gets. I see more hate than love. I thought I was contrarian saying I like him, to be honest, just because. Yeah. You know, here's the thing, Matt. He had his seasons. People forget, like, when it was him, Julio, and AB fighting for that top spot for a couple years. Odell, his rookie year, dropped, like, what, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns? Yep. Yeah, then next, like, he was 1,400 yards and double-digit touchdowns with the Giants 3 years in a row. Yeah. And then even on the Browns, like, his first year where he wasn't really, wasn't he really banged up his first year on the Browns? Didn't he miss some games still? Still cleared 1,000 yards. I mean, I think the talent's there, man. I think it's like AB. Like, I think like maybe he's not quite as good as AB, or maybe he is at this point. I don't know. But, like, AB, we're looking at what he's doing. Granted, it's Tom Brady throwing to him, but we're still seeing when he was playing, you know, before he got hurt, what he was doing as the third option, maybe even fourth option, counting Gronk on that offense. You know what I mean? Yeah. And how good he still is. I think Odell has that potential too. He's still young, dude. He's 28 years old.
Yeah,
he's 28 years old.
Thanks for calling me young. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm 29, so I'm old. But he's injured. He's injured to shit. He's been injured to shit. I think he's, you know, the talent's there, and, you know, with no Jarvis, ball's got to go somewhere. Baker's been sneaky good, so I don't hate that.
I just remember them putting an infographic after his second season next to Randy Moss, and I was just like, "What is happening?
Yeah, that's an overreaction,
guys."
Hey, speaking of putting up Randy Moss types numbers, I mean, just saying, Justin Jefferson,
it's been fantastic as well. So is he now Randy Moss? That's my whole point. Yes. ESPN. Okay, good.
Same way people like the same page. Justin Jefferson is the best Vikings receiver ever.
All right, Travis Kelce at the tight end position, now the highest owned. People, you get it, but he's still only 10.5% owned. What's happening? I say this week in and week out, he should be closer to 40%. I honestly, truly believe that, because if you nail the tight end position, at least for GPPs, you're going to finish really, really well. And I will always say that. Other than that, like, you're giving up, you know, potentially 20-plus points, Kevin, in that position. Travis Kelce is doing that. He's putting up 20-plus points every single week, even with that dud week he could have potentially had last week, still finished fantastic at 10.5% owned. Evan Ingram, very, very weird. We had a brief conversation about this before we kicked off the video. 17.5 over under there for the Giants against the Saints. That's not good. 8.8% owned. And then Dalton Schultz showed up Monday Night Football. That was Monday night? It was Monday night. 7.2% owned. Got 2 touchdowns, I believe, or was it just the one? It was 2 touchdowns. Yes, 26 points at a discounted 3.4K price tag. So let me hear it. Who's your favorite cash option, and what do you think of Evan Ingram and Schultz at their price tags?
I don't know how I feel about them. I mean, I guess Ingram, I don't love it just because he's $400 cheaper. If you're going to throw trash into a position, at least go full trash. That's my thing. You know what I mean? Don't spend $3,500 if you're going to, if you're just throwing away the position. Spend $3,000. Go full trash. That's the way I've always looked at it. Same with defense.
I think 25 is the cheapest you can get.
Defense. Yeah, I think it is.
Ian Thomas it is from Carolina. Let's go.
Or I was going to say Tommy Tremble from Carolina as well. I don't know, man. I don't love. I would probably just go Kelce. Just like sometimes, like last week, I think I liked Hawkinson looked okay, at least on paper for cash. Fant looked okay. Right now, I'd probably just go Travis Kelce. Set it and forget it for cash games. And I don't know. You want to go GPP first?
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I don't have anything else to say. I will keep saying it. And not even that much in cash and GPPs, you need to be overexposed to Travis Kelce. George Kittle.
That's what you think? Yeah.
George Kittle is a more obvious option to me than Evan Ingram and Schultz, even at his price tag for value, if that makes sense. Like, I think he makes more of an obvious choice there.
I like him for GPP. Yeah.
I like Higbee the most in terms of cash for value plays, because the amount of look at the game total. We talked about, the entire video here at 29, and the amount of routes that he runs, he should easily get, 4 or 5 targets easily. I think that's his floor, honestly, at this point. And then Logan Thomas, we've already talked about in the first look video, $4,900. I think Higbee's still the more obvious option, but I also love Logan Thomas more than I like Evan Ingram and Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz, I do think that was a little bit of an outlier performance. It was just one of those guys that were getting overlooked in that game script against the Eagles. So for that reason, I'm not huge on either one of those guys, but yes, Travis Kelce is the answer. There's no other answer here.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got Blake Jarwin there, right?
Yeah, they do.
So it's like,
right, and he even got some targets. So
yeah, I think he got a couple catches. So I'm not going to overreact to Schultz. Yeah. I'm actually, it's funny, Matt. I want to see. I'm dying to see after next week. Let's circle back to tight end next week. Obviously, we will, and see how many people react to CJ Uzomah. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Against
how many
the
people are
Jags.
going to shit their pants, and he's going to be second highest owned next year.
It's funny because when I did the showdown breakdown on them, I overlooked him because I was like, yeah, you shouldn't get targets, and he's going to be the guy to break the slate. I literally said that out of my mouth. I was just like, he's going to catch a touchdown. That's what's going to happen. So only include him in GPPs, but yeah, he's not obvious whatsoever. And it was just like, yeah, here we go. It's another
I was actually
guy.
going to ask you how little people had him in DFS.
He was 5% owned overall in the captain spot, which was the $1 million maker. He was 0.7%.
That's insane.
And guess who had 2% of him in the captain spot? Me. Yep. Yeah, I didn't get the exact right combination. I finished third in a big $1 GBP, so I ended up walking away with like 80 something bucks. But anyway.
Really, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What could you have won off that $1?
Why do you say really? Like it's something new, dude. I always do shit like that.
Yeah, I know. Okay, you're a savage, man.
No, but I do run 150, so it was $150 and then like 240, I think, at the end of the night.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's how.
If anything else went better besides that, James Robinson, or did you not have James Robinson?
Well, I had plenty of James Robinson. I was overexposed to the Jaguars because I knew they were going to be contrarian, so it was working out for me. And then I had Uzomah at the captain spot in that one lineup that finished second. And I think I didn't have in that one. I think it was Trevor Lawrence that I didn't have that made the optimal. So anyway,
Trevor Lawrence made the optimal with that rushing touchdown, right? Or
yes, sir. He had one. He had one rushing. Yeah. As much as I hate talking about the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence looked phenomenal last night in terms of like game managing and not making stupid mistakes, which is something I love to see. I
would never watch him play, so I didn't see it. But yeah, that's good for you, man.
Yeah.
But anyway,
great option. Let's go defense. Lions, the most obvious.
Well, actually, I had two more people I want to talk about real quick on tight end. Mike Gesicki looked absolutely lights out. He's 4K, looked absolutely lights out. If you have a new QB, that's enough to move the needle. You get one sample size with him. I'm not going to overreact, but I think people are underreacting to the fact he just had 10 catches with a new quarterback.
Targets. So
that's something you need to take seriously. A new quarterback is a new team. How many teams have we seen, Matt, have players that were completely fantasy relevant with a certain quarterback, completely irrelevant with a different quarterback? You know what I mean? Something to consider. And then lastly,
not a different
team. No, but seriously, like last year he had Teddy Bridgewater was lights out. Sam Darnold doesn't like him. Yeah. Okay. Mark Andrews, that's the other one. 53, criminally low ownership at 2%. He's going to get his tutties. It's coming. So.
All right. I like both of those. Yep. Definitely a good person to keep our eye on, especially at 2.8% for Gesicki. So like that. Yep. Moving over to defense, there's an obvious one, Lions. We actually talked about them in the very first look, so we got that right. I think we're like 2 for 2 over the past 2 weeks here. The Titans last week and then the Lions naming the obvious chalk defense. Not that they're good, but they're playing Chicago. Chicago is just dreadful with their offense. Justin Fields, have no idea what to think about him. 18.4%, yes. Is that your favorite cash option?
Lions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tigers and Bears. I don't think we have to talk about anything else. Bills against Houston's the most obvious one in my opinion here. 15-point over/under for the Houston Texans. That is, I think it's the lowest I've seen this season, which is crazy because that's crazy. They dropped 31 on the best defense in the NFL week 1, which is crazy. 37. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Crazy. But yeah, do you have any more GPP plays you want to talk about for defense?
Not for defense. No, that looks good.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about defense either. All right, guys. That went our video. Again, be sure to join us on our live stream on Sunday morning with updated ownership. And I think, Kevin, this will be the week where we're going to have to keep an eye on that running back situation. We're going to have a lot of value plays right up through lock. So be sure to tune in. Injuries. Hopefully, Kevin's with me in the morning. Again, TJ won't be there because he is in Florida. He will be back next week. If you guys did enjoy this content, please do hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future NFL content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your night. Let's cash.